2017 Premier League champions Chelsea playing 3-4-3 and basically creating a 3-2-5 system in attack, which is basically how Manchester City have won the league in the last 2 years, playing a different system but creating a 3-2-5 formation in attack. And the champions-elect this year, Liverpool, also again creating that 3-2-5 formation in attack, but with different players in different positions. With Antonio, we were Victor Moses as a right wing back, Azpilicueta, David Luiz, Gary Cahill, Marcus Alonso. So one wing back more of a full back, the other wing back more of a winger. And behind the wing back that's more of a winger was a central defender who's more of a full back, because he was going to need to be in these areas, these fullback areas more often, so needed those attributes that a fullback has. In midfield, Kante and Matic, sometimes Fabregas, and then Diego Costa with Hazard, Willian, Pedro as number 10s either side of the striker. And basically what Antonio tried to create was when we had the ball in second phase, which would be as the image is now on the pitch in front of me, the number 10s would go inside and between the lines, and the wing backs would play right up high in the same line as the forwards, so not 10, 20 meters lower, but in the same line. So basically 5 players in the same line in the offensive third of the pitch, which basically left 3 and 2. And the team was basically split into the 5 players that prepare the attacks to the 5 players whose job it is to penetrate. And what happened in the early part of the season a lot was teams were playing with 4 defenders against the 5, and as the image suggests, you get outnumbered 5 against 4. So particularly, let's say the ball is on this side of the pitch and being switched. The problem that this player had, the fullback had, on the opposite side to the ball, when this player made this run, he wasn't sure whether to go with him to cover the run, or whether he should be staying with the wing-back who was wide on the other side. So a big tactical dilemma, 5 against 4, that was the challenge for every team we played, frankly. What ended up happening was, in the second half of the season, once the team had gained serious momentum, was that more or less all the teams played 5 against the 5, which solved the tactical problem. But of course then you're playing with a back 3, having had maybe 1 or 2 days to train it, against a team where we'd been working on it all season. So a new system to try to cope with the problems that the Chelsea system provided. Where I see that similarly in the last few years in the Premier League would be Liverpool and Manchester City would both play more of a 4-3-3, so 4 defenders, pivot, 2 number 8s and 3 forwards. And in Manchester City's case, the wingers would play very wide. Let me change that back to 4-4-2. The wingers would play very wide, and there's the centre forward. The number 8, so De Bruyne, Silva, would play right up again in that offensive line, creating 5 offensive players. Here is where it's slightly different to the 3 and the 2 of Antonio's Chelsea. But with Delph coming inside for City, or Walker playing more from position, not so much overlapping, you get that 2 and the 3, or can be the 3 and the 2. Again, going back to the season where Delph played left back as a midfield player. So you've still got a similar structure. In counter-attack, you have 3 and 2, so 5 always in good positions. But 5 players in the same offensive line, making lots of runs into depth and asking lots of questions of fullbacks and centre-backs, who to mark, whether to push in, whether to drop off. And of course, with the quality of player that Manchester City have, a big challenge for any team that plays against them. Liverpool see slightly differently in that. So Liverpool's 4-3-3, so back 4, again pivot, 2 8s and 3 forwards. So Liverpool, not so much from the midfield players in terms of offensive play, more relevant that they can defend and they can work and they can cover fullbacks particularly. Both midfield players often dropping into fullback positions when they build. But it's the fullback. So this is Trent and this is Robertson. Again, you've got Mane and you've got Salah and you've got Firmino as 3 forwards. So there's that 5 again, that line of 5 that I talked about. Two central defenders and then 3 midfield players. So different to City, different to Chelsea, but fundamentally the same principle. 2, 3, 5. Both Milner, Wijnaldum, Henderson would also spend a lot of time dropping into these positions, 1 at a time normally, to receive the ball, to again create that 3, 2, 5. With the national team, we are, or have been, since Croatia away in the Nations League, we've been 4-3-3, but in different ways we've managed to create a similar issue for the opponent. One is by playing with high number 8s and wingers wide, and then fullbacks playing more positional, so 2-3-5. Another way that we've created something a little bit different is if the pivot drops between the 2 central defenders to form 3 at the back, and then both wing-backs play really high, again going back to Antonio's wing-backs now, very high, and the wingers play inside. Again, you get that 3-2-5 structure with now the pivot in between the 2 centre-backs. So what you're now dealing with is, are the players in the right places with, does it suit their individual qualities? Because if the wingers are better on the wing, then why move them inside, for example? If the pivot isn't going to be good in counter-attacking situations when the opponent recovers the ball, if he can't cope in defensive situations, probably better he doesn't drop into those areas. But similar principle and a different way of building in a 4-3-3. And the final way that we've tried with the senior team, so I'm comfortable sharing it with you because it's not just one way, it's lots of different ways. So it's not like I'm giving away a secret. You can never be quite sure which way we're going to build. But another way would be that if we had a particularly offensive right back and a left back who was more defensive, we would play with the left back in on one side, again creating that 3 I talked about. The right back here would be really high and again right in that offensive line. Right winger inside, centre forward. But now we have no left back high on this side, so it's the left winger on this side who needs to keep the width. And then the left side 8, which would be, let's say, more of a Barkley or a Mount, a Maddison, Dele Alli, that kind of player. So a more offensive midfield player out of the three would then play in that space between the lines, which again basically means that you're building with the 3 and the 2 and the 5. So just some observations on modern football in the Premier League. Chelsea, Manchester City for 2 years, and Liverpool this year, all very similar in the principle of what they're trying to achieve with their attacking play, and some ways that we have moulded that within the 4-3-3, so different ways of building within the 4-3-3, different ways of adapting to give different tactical problems to the opponent with the England senior team.